Huda. I'm your host, Jamil Rashid, and I'd like to welcome back today Sheikh Mohammed Salah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair for being with us today, Sheikh.
Wa jazakum.
Okay, let me just remind you quickly of our telephone numbers. The country code is 202, then it's 38555, 248 or 249. Our email address is ask@huda.tv, and a warm welcome to all the brothers and sisters who are watching us live on the internet. Of course, you can watch us live from www.huda.tv. Sheikh, let's start with Brother Maqsood's question from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He says some people go to Hajj unofficially, especially those who live in the area of Mecca. Is it permissible to perform Hajj without official permission?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyhi wa Mustafa Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Praise be to Allah, we praise Him and we seek His help. Whomsoever Allah guides is the truly guided one, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can show him guidance. May the best peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the Quran, Allah the Almighty said, وَأَتِمُّ الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. This is a divine command that mandates the performance of Hajj and Umrah. According to the opinion of the vast majority, Umrah too is mandatory. Well, Hajj is one of the pillars of Islam. We're talking about the very first Hajj, because Hajj is only mandatory upon every Muslim, male and a female, once per lifetime. Beyond the first time is considered as tatawwa, voluntary, or nawafil. That's why one has to try by every possible means to perform Hajj, if it is Hajjatul Islam or the mandatory Hajj and Umrah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it very easy for the believers to offer whatever He has ordained upon them. And if anything is beyond their capacity, then they're exempted. He says, عَزَّ وَجَلَّ لَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. And He says, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. So it is only mandatory on those who can afford the means of the journey, physically and financially. Many people are so lucky of being in the neighborhood of Mecca or in Jeddah or nearby, where they can just slip in and perform Hajj every year. And I have no doubt this is a privilege for those who are living nearby, as far as performing Umrah. But with regards to Hajj, we notice the following, that every single Muslim out of a great number that exceeds 1 billion, we're talking about 1.4 billion Muslims, would love to perform Hajj. Now the number is growing larger and larger. They say 3 and 4 million, then all of a sudden another 500,000 would show up from the local people, which makes it very difficult and hard for those who are performing Hajj for the first time to perform the ceremonies of Hajj properly and at ease. That's why the local government and officials have set a law, which I believe is for a person who has performed Hajj once, they have to take a break for 5 years before being able to perform the next Hajj. So basically, they do not prevent or ban a person from performing the first Hajj, but they give them some time to allow others to perform Hajj as well. So this is as far as explaining the theory behind why 5 years period of time, that those who have performed Hajj once, they cannot perform Hajj until 5 years will pass by. Then we'll come to explain the rulings of the Sharia concerning what if one still breaks the rules and performs Hajj. He has committed a sin, but their Hajj, if it is done and performed properly, then this Hajj is valid. Similar to, and by analogy to, if a woman performs Hajj without a mahram, she's committed a sin for traveling without a male mahram. But is the Hajj valid and will be considered as Hajjatul Islam if it is the first Hajj for her? Yes, if she does it properly and perfectly. Similarly, if someone performs Hajj from unlawful sources, his earning was from haram, we say, أَجْزَأَهُ الْحَجْ. The Hajj is valid itself, but he has committed a sin of performing Hajj from an earning which is from unlawful sources. As far as the acceptance of Hajj, this is a secret between the servant and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one can say for sure that my Hajj has been accepted. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, من حج فلم يرفث ولم يفسق رجع كيوم ولدته أمه. One who performs Hajj and avoids committing sins and sexual relations with his spouse or her spouse during Hajj and during Ihram, shall return home as the same day that he or she were born. this is a great honor for those who perform Hajj, which would invite people to come from far away and from great distances to perform Hajj and Umrah. What about those who are nearby? So I advise those who have performed Hajj already once or more than that to give a chance to those who have not performed Hajj before to perform Hajj, and to comply by the law, because it regulates this process. It's similar to the traffic law. This is a man-made law, but it serves a purpose, and it is in compliance with the system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to follow. So if one breaks the law, even if he's not being seen and doesn't take a traffic violation, he's still committing a sin. But this is a man-made law, but it serves a purpose, and it's not in contradiction with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained. And you can still perform Umrah as many times as you can, every month, every 2 months, as long as you are a local person, and Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, the brother had a second question. It's regarding insects. He says, is it permissible to kill insects which spoil your food? So you've got some food out there, you have bugs on them. Is it permissible to kill them?
It depends. There are certain insects that the Prophet ﷺ ordered us to kill, whether in the Hill or even in the Haram, even in Mecca, even around the Kaaba, such as a scorpion, such as other animals, the crow, the wild dog, and the rat or the mouse. And there are animals or insects that the Prophet ﷺ specified not to be killed unless if they're harmful, such as the ants and the honeybees. And the hoopoe, it's a hudhud that's mentioned in the story of Sayyiduna Sulaiman alayhi salam in Surah An-Naml. So these insects and birds or animals are exempted from being killed unless if they are harmful. So if one have bugs or flies at his house or roaches, it's okay to spray them with insecticide and kill them as long as they're harmful. But especially concerning the honeybees and the ants, if they are not harmful, you can just expel them or remove them peacefully, unless if they attack you or they cause any harm at home. Then in this case it is permissible, and avoid burning animals or insects or any living creature, because the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it is not befitting for anyone to torture with fire except the one who created fire. And he informed us about one of the prophets before him got bitten by an ant. So he ordered his followers to burn the ant house. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said he received the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَهَلَّا نَمْلَةً, you should have killed just the one which bit you, not the entire thing, and not to burn. So burning is prohibited and is only restricted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, for the first call of the day, Sister Abdurrahman from Yemen. Sister, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes. My question simply is that I got married for 4 years, and I'm still virgin, and I'm away now. I decided to divorce, to get divorced, and now I have been away from my husband more than 3 months, and my husband refused to divorce me, but inshallah I will divorce him. Which means al-khula. And my question is that if I get the divorce, do I have to wait 3 months until I can remarry again?
That's a good question. Inshallah, we'll answer you.
Okay.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair.
Barakallah fiik. Okay, Sister Abdurrahman from Yemen. Jazakallah khair for that question, Sister. Okay, we've got a question here from Brother Fasih. He says, can you enlighten me regarding Harut wa Marut?
I'm sorry, what is the question again?
He says, can you enlighten me, can you explain to me about Harut wa Marut?
The story of Harut and Marut, these are two angels. Their story was mentioned in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, particularly beginning verse 1 or 2. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانُ وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ كَفَرُوا يُعَلِّمُونَ النَّاسَ السِّحْرَ مَا أُنزِلَ عَلى الْمَلَكَيْنِ بِبَابِلَ هَارُوتَ وَمَارُوتَ. So basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala labels those who work with magic and use sorcery as disbelievers. They disbelieve because of using magic and following whatever was revealed or sent down or came down upon the two angels in Babylon, Harut and Marut. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed us that there were two angels. First of all, we have to understand that all the angels are infallible. They never disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concerning any affair. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَلْ عِبَادٌ مُكْرَمُونَ لَا يَسْبِقُونَهُ بِالْقَوْلِ وَهُمْ بِأَمْرِهِ يَعْمَلُونَ. They are honorable servants. They never disobey any command to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that will cut the road on those who label these two angels as kuffar or rebellious, or they disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they went out of control. That's not true. All of that you will find in some tafsir as mentioned by some of the Israelites. So that opposes the fact that the angels are infallible. So we have to disregard all of that, no matter where you've read that. So what about that these two angels received some witchcrafts and sorcery, magic crafts to teach people in order to try them. This is a concept of fitna or trial, as the entire life and what it contains is a matter of fitna. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا إنما أموالكم وأولادكم فتنة. Allah said in Surah Al-Mulk, Tabarak, He created death and life in order to try you. Which one of you is best indeed? And He said, certainly, indeed, your wealth and your sons are but a fitna or a trial. And also, I can relate to the fitna of the false Messiah, whom Allah would give him the power of giving life and death. Sending down the rain upon His command and bringing forth the fruits and vegetations. So people will be tried, and many people, particularly the Jews, would follow him right away. 70,000 from Asfahan. So basically, these two angels are angels who fulfill the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, came down to earth to teach people something which they said upon teaching every person, hey, إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةً. Neither one of them taught anyone these crafts, but said, we are just but a trial. So do not learn that. That would lead you to kufr. That would lead you to disbelief. إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ فَلَا تَكْفُرْ. And remember what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا هُمْ بِضَارِّينَ بِهِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. These two angels, with this crafts that they have, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught them, they can never harm anyone except by the leave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a summary of the story of Harut wa Marut. So we must believe that these two names are the names of two honorable angels who are assigned of a task to teach certain people certain crafts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it is prohibited, so do not do it, do not follow it, do not act upon it, because whosoever adopts that methodology will be a disbeliever. That's similar to that Allah created wine, Allah created pigs, and He said it is haram. Some people say if pigs are totally prohibited and it's a filthy animal, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create it? Then you're going to ask, why did Allah create snakes and scorpions? Everything was created for a reason, and to have the complete test, perfect test presented in this life, there has to be good and evil. Or otherwise, somebody is going to present this question, why did Allah create Satan from the beginning? Why didn't Allah leave us in paradise to enjoy heaven and live in there? Well, there would not be a test then. Rather, this life is all about test and trial.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Okay, we have Sister Wafa from Egypt. Sister, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Please, I have a question. Please, Sheikh, it's very well known that one prayer in Masjid Haram equal 100,000 prayers in any other masjid.
Yeah.
But also, performing tawaf is not available in any other place. So, which is more preferable and which is more rewarding, to increase performing tawaf or to increase performing voluntary prayer? Because when someone goes to perform Umrah, mostly the time is so limited. So what's your advice? And please, I have another question.
Yes.
Can ignorance be considered as an excuse before Allah? I mean, if someone commit mistakes due to his or her ignorance, will it be excused before Allah? That's all. Jazakumullahu khair.
Barakallahu fiki. Okay, next we have Sister Maryam from Oman. Sister, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please. Sister Maryam, are you with us?
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Sister. Yes, your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
First of all, we all appreciate this program.
Jazakallah khair,
And
sister.
we envy the Sheikh to be with us.
Jazakallah khair.
We would like to have someone like him to be in our family also.
May Allah accept that and provide someone, inshallah.
My question is, how does Islam protect women, especially after they are divorced? We know in the West that there is an agreement that whatever you earn during the marriage should be equally divided. But in Islam, sometimes you marry your husband when you don't have anything and you grow up together. And at the end, the husband divorces you and leaves you alone with nothing. I know there is some condition that will protect a woman, but yes, the husband leaving her and starting life from the beginning while he contributed a lot with her husband.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Sister Maryam there from Oman. Jazakallah khair for that question, sister. Okay, now we have Sister Abdul Rahman, this time from Saudi. Sister, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I have two questions.
Okay.
One question is it permissible for a lady to see a male gynecologist if there are no female gynecologists, or there is a female gynecologist but she does not have a good reputation medically? And the second question is it, I have my parents, they're not Muslim, and I go and see them every year with my husband for about a month. And I also have another sibling who isn't a Muslim, who does not visit them. And my parents, they have a dog, a black dog, in their house. And if I don't visit them, then it's just my mother and my grandmother. Then nobody will go and see them. So is it permissible for me to continue seeing them for this amount of time? And if they refuse to put the dog outside, I have, as they are, I have to come. Or if I don't like it, they told me that I should not come. But if I do not come, then they will not see me for the whole year.
Okay.
So I want to know what's your opinion, what's the legal opinion about this? Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, now we have Sister Ahmed from the United Arab Emirates. Sister, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa
I
rahmatullah.
would like to ask you that my husband, he's Matawa, and he's religious too much. So he gave me my meher, and alhamdulillah, he gave me each and everything, what is my needs, everything he gave me. But his main problem is that he don't let me to wear my gold. He said this is the showing off things. It means the woman, she sits in parties and everywhere she go and she wears this gold and she shows to people. So for my own wish, I can wear it, or just the husband he commands me that you wear, I can wear. He said you don't wear, I will not. So sir, can you please explain me this problem means? And the second thing is this: my husband, he said me to make hijab from my cousins and everyone. In Sharia, yeah, there is. And they are not mahram, we can't go in front of them. But they think my cousins, I can't. My uncles also I can't. Just my father's brother, my mom's brother, like that. So sir, please can you help me in this?
Okay.
Inshallah.
Barakallah fiqh. Sister Ahmed from the United Arab Emirates. Okay, we've got a busy day today. We've got Sister Jabril now, all the way from Canada. Sister, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Throughout the year, there are many fasting days that we can fast that are sunnah. Can you please remind us those dates? And also here in North America, unfortunately, there are many activities that are being organized without seeking any advice. Now, with Muslim, kind of Muslim girls, Muslim women activities, they would often organize like fashion shows and kind of girls' halal prom nights and things like that. Are these activities allowed?
Okay.
Are these mixed activities?
I'm sorry?
Are these mixed activities where men and women mingle together?
Well, some of them are mixed, but some of them are not. But some of them, like the fashion shows and the girls' prom nights, they are not usually, they're not mixed.
Okay.
Okay. Jazakallah khair, Sister Jibril there from Canada. Okay, I've got a question here from Brother Muqtasib from Bahrain, Sheikh. Now, remember, he's our 8-year-old viewer, mashallah, who called in. He's asking a very sincere question, Sheikh. When does he have to start fasting?
That's a very good question. Whenever we say the verb have, that means it is mandatory. Where if you do it, you will be rewarded for it, and if you skip it, you will be punished as long as you skip it without a valid reason. All the acts of worship and religious activities become mandatory once the child, he or she, reaches the puberty age. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, رُفِعَ الْقَلَمُ عَنْ ثَلَاثٍ. The pen that records our deeds has been lifted up and does not record the deeds of 3 people. And he mentioned one of them was صَبِيِّ حَتَّى يَبْلُغ, and the young boy, and according the young girl, until he or she reaches the puberty age. But it doesn't mean that you wait until you reach the puberty age, then all of a sudden you decide to fast or to pray, because the Prophet ﷺ said, instruct your children as how to pray at the age of 7. Then discipline them if they skip the prayer at the age of 10. This is very necessary and very important. The process of the gradation in teaching and implementing and instructing our youth to perform the ibadat, or otherwise. There was one person who was at the age of 40, said, it's impossible for me to fast. I said, why? He said, because I've never fasted in my life. I can't stop eating and drinking for 8 hours, 10 hours, let alone 15 hours. So that's why it is so beautiful, the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. There is a very interesting fact also, when we say that it is not mandatory to observe the religious activities before the puberty age. It doesn't mean that these are in vain if you do them. No. If you do them, in addition to practicing them, you receive a reward for it. And if you skip them, there is no punishment, because you're not accountable until you reach the puberty age. So it is highly recommended one should start as early as possible. And I have seen kids at the age of 4 started fasting half day, 5 started fasting a whole day, then 6 fasted the entire month, and that is in America. By practice and exercise, if one wants to show some flexibility in his or her body, they start practicing at an early age, then they can bend all over. Similarly, if one wants to have an easy way to practice the ibadat, you should start as early as possible. Keeping in mind that whatever you do, مَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُضِيعَ إِيمَانَكُمْ, meaning that Allah would not waste the reward of your good deeds, even if they were done before the puberty age, or if you're not mukallaf, in another word. There is another thing I want to indicate. If one is performing, if one is not fasting, then he or she experienced any of the signs of the puberty during the day of Ramadan, even though it is not Fajr or before Fajr, then they must resume fasting right away. So this is when it becomes mandatory. And if one is started as voluntary, it turns to become mandatory because he or she have reached the puberty age at this time. If a young boy or young girl would perform in Hajj with their family, then on the day of Arafah or a day before, they experience the signs of the puberty age. If a girl starts seeing al-hayd or the menses, then even though she's not going to perform tawaf until she's cleaned up, but standing on the day of Arafah for her would count as Hajjatul Islam. So basically, and in the brief answer to this question, the ibadat are not mandatory upon a Muslim until he or she reach the puberty age, but one must start practicing as early as possible.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, the brother's second question, our young brother from Bahrain, is about his school. He says that I have to participate in music lessons. What advice do you have for him, Sheikh?
I really don't know why do you have to, because there is a parents' council, and the parents, they set the rules, especially with the activities which are not related to the educational process. If they don't comply, there are plenty of schools which follow the Sunnah, and as a parent, you can always request, and that is even in Europe and in the States, you can request exempting your son or daughter from any activity which you think it contradicts the teaching of your religion.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, we have Brother Shakil now from the United Arab Emirates. Brother, you're on Ask. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My question is, my company has shifted me temporarily to work for another company which deals with interest. I intend to discuss this matter with my boss and ask him if he can replace me with someone else, basically a non-Muslim. But what if he objects and I have no choice? Can you please advise?
Okay.
Jazakallah khair.
Okay, barakallah feek. Brother Shakil there from the United Arab Emirates there. Okay, Sheikh, I've got a question here from Brother Gabal Tariq from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He's asking regarding a certain ayah in the Quran in Tajweed. You know the ayah I did tell you before the program. If you could repeat it for the brothers, Sheikh. Yatlun al-Kitab, I think it was.
Actually, the verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. In it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمُ الْكِتَابَ يَتْلُونَهُ حَقَّ تِلَاوَتِهِ أُولَٰئِكَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِهِ. Which means those whom we've given the book, Al-Kitab, they recite it as it should be recited. Such, those are truly believers in it. They truly believe in it. And I think the questioner was asking if this is a reference to indicate that it is mandatory to learn Tajweed. Well, the verse has a broader meaning than just limiting its meaning to the mandate of learning Tajweed or reciting the Quran properly. Because Umar ibn Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, mentioned that يَتْلُونَهُ حَقَّ تِلَاوَتِهِ, which literally means they recite it as it should be recited. That means whenever they are reciting its verses, if they recite a verse which talks about heaven, they pause to ask Allah to take them to heaven. And if they recite a verse talking about the fire of hell, they pause to seek Allah's refuge from the torment of fire. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, يَتْلُونَهُ حَقَّ تِلَاوَتِهِ, meaning يُحِلُّونَ حَلَالَهُ وَيُحَرِّمُونَ حَرَامَهُ. They consider whatever is mentioned in it as lawful. So they deal with it as halal. And whatever is indicated in the Quran as prohibited, they deal with it as prohibited. So basically they implement its rules and regulations. And this is exactly what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, said. الذين آتيناهم الكتاب يتلونه حق تلاوته يحلون حلاله ويحرمون حرامه ويقفون عند أوامره ونواهيه. If there is any command in the Quran or in the book, they comply. And if there is any prohibition, they abstain. So if the reciter of the Quran does so, then he is a true reciter, recites as it should be recited. The Quran was not just revealed to be recited in the funeral or in the beginning of parties or in the commemoration of the death or the birth of certain people or in the anniversaries. Unfortunately, the recitation of the Quran has become limited to such occasions in many societies. So people would not recite the Quran but occasionally, nor listen to the recitation of the Quran but in these occasions. The Quran should be recited during the day, and the night should be recited in the salah and outside the salah. Should be recited whenever you have a chance. And the best recitation is to reflect upon its meaning, to ponder what it says, and then start acting upon it. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ used to learn 10 verses by 10 verses. It was not that much difficult for them to learn the entire Quran at once. It was their language, their mother tongue. But they have learned first al-Iman. They have learned how to believe and how to comply with the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whenever Allah the Almighty says in the Quran, do, they perfectly understand this command is coming from Allah. They do not argue it. So basically, the opposite, those who disbelieve in it, are the true losers by the end of the verse. How do they disbelieve in it while they recite it? They recite it, but they do not act upon its verses. Or they claim it is not valid, or it is not befitting for our era, for the time being. Such people, no matter how much they recite the Qur'an, they disbelieve in it. So it covers both the perfect recitation, not changing a vowel, not changing a word, لا يحرفون الكلمة عن مواضعه, because many of the children of Israel were condemned and cursed in the Qur'an because they altered the word of Allah. They changed the meaning of what Allah said in their Old or the New Testament. And I mentioned to the dear viewers once before, when I was studying in the Old Testament, a few verses, basically in Deuteronomy and Joshua. Then I asked a priest about, what do you think of these verses? And the answer was shocking to me. He simply said, well, we don't believe in these verses anymore. You know what it means when you say to the Word of God, I eliminate this, I believe in that, I believe in this, and I don't believe in that. You pick and you choose, and you're not dealing with Allah. So يتلونه حق تلاوته, meaning يؤمنون به. الذين آتيناهم الكتاب يتلونه حق تلاوته. Such people are they truly believe in it. Otherwise, it is just a word of mouth without any belief.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, now we have Brother Khurshid from the United Arab Emirates. Brother, you're live now. Could I your question, please?
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
First of all, missing you a lot, especially on Sunday and Tuesday, the live program.
Wallahi, I missed you too as much. Jazakumullahu khair.
Jazakallahu khair. Yes, Sheikh, my question is this, that I'm having a problem that my prostate is becoming bigger. I have gone to the doctor and he advised me to take 6 to 7 liter water in a day.
No.
Now Ramadan is coming.
No.
And I have to take this because he said that it is must to take 6 to 7 liter water to drink in a day. So one of my friends said that he is a non-Muslim doctor, better to go to the Muslim doctor.
Yeah.
What I feel that Muslim doctor is, can't say he is not a scholar. So better to ask you. You can advise me.
Okay.
Should I pay XPS of instead of the 30 Ramadan, or what? Please suggest me what I should do.
Jazakallah khairan, and I will request Brother Jamil to make certain, inshallah, we give you the answer in this episode.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. Brother Khurshid there from the United Arab Emirates. Okay, we have Brother Bilal from Bahrain. Brother, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed my wife and I with 3 children.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah, we're expecting number 4, inshallah.
You sound too young, Bilal. MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah, the first baby is, the eldest boy is 4.
MashaAllah.
The next one is 3. And the youngest is 1.
MashaAllah.
We're teaching them Quran and they're memorizing. But my wife would like to teach them also memorization of Hadith. That's the first question. We'd like to know how best to go about teaching children of this age the Hadith. And the second question is how to appropriately discipline children of this age according to the Sunnah. What's the best methodology for disciplining children at this age?
Inshallah.
Barakallah fiqh, Brother Bilal there from Bahrain. Okay, we're going to take a short break and inshallah return in a couple of minutes. Please stay with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The religion of Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, and the majority of that growth is taking place right here in the United States of America. According to most reliable estimates, there are more than 7 million Muslims living in the United States of America. Muslims have become valuable and vital assets to the American society. So please join me as I travel around America and introduce you to a few of the many Muslims in America.
Rasul of Allah, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah. Muhammad is his messenger. La ilaha illallah. no God but Allah. Muhammad is His messenger.
When you are weak and the road seems long, remember, just remember,
we're looking at the names of Allah from the perspective of not only their understanding, knowing what they are, knowing what they mean, but also looking at how they should impact on our lives. We should gain from it a sense of Allah, the vastness of Allah's mercy, how it encompasses every aspect of His creation. Al-Malik, Al-Malik, and Al-Malik. Al-Malik translated as the sovereign Lord, Al-Malik, the owner, and Al-Malik, the king. In the names of Allah.
Allah is the only guide. When your heart is breaking and your pain makes you fall, remember, just remember, Allah sees it all.
My name is Sharif Touni, and this is brought to you from Huda TV. In today's edition, we'll be discussing about the day and night.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala equated the samawat with darkness, the firmament with darkness, and equated the earth with light. Why? Are there really pillars that cannot be seen?
Or is it an unseen pillar?
Everything is running, but the relationships are fixed. So that it would appear to people as if nothing is running, you see. We are destroying our environment with our own hands. And that's why the Quran says, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا لعلهم يرجعون.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Ask Huda. Let me quickly remind you of our telephone numbers. The country code is 202, then it's 38555 248 or 249. Okay, now we have Brother Muhammad from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Brother, you're live on Ask Huda. Your question, please. Brother Muhammad, are you with us?
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Your question, please.
Yes, my question is regarding the zakah.
Okay.
And usually people give the zakah in the month of Ramadan, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we also have the reference saying that the month of Dhul Hajj, wal Fajr wal Layali Ashr. So those are also the blessed days, and it's the most beloved days for the Almighty Allah.
Correct.
Right. So my question is it preferable to pay my zakah during the Ramadan, or is it better that I will be rewarded much more if I do that in the Ashra,
In the Al-Awwal Ashra, okay.
In Dhul Hajj Ashra. If you could answer that, I would really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
Barakallah feek. Jazakallah khair for your question, Brother Muhammad there from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Okay, Sheikh, I've got a question from Brother Gabal Tariq. We answered one of his questions. His second question was regarding being asked, are you a mu'min? Sheikh, if somebody asks you this, how do you reply this? What does this entail, Sheikh?
Well, a believer should be certain of his faith and belief.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very important fact that I would like the viewers to be aware of. Your iman should be firm and should not fluctuate. In another word, there is the iman which the Prophet ﷺ stated is to believe in Allah, in His angels, in His books, in His messengers, in the last day, and in the divine destiny or the preordainment. The 6 articles of faith. Your faith in these 6 articles should be firm and fixed. But there is an iman which is subject of change, that increases and decreases, which refers to at-ta'ah, the ibadat, the acts of worship, obedience versus disobedience. Sometimes upon reciting the Quran and upon doing the ibadah during the month of Ramadan, you automatically feel your iman is fired up. And if you're involved in a ma'asiyah, that will decrease the level of your iman. So this is the iman which is subject of increase and decrease. But your iman with regards to believing in Allah, the last day, the angels, the books, the messengers, and Al-Qadr must be firm. And that's why if one asks you, are you a mu'min? You should say, yes. Saying insha'Allah in this context is permissible only if you do not consider it as that you're having doubt. You should not have any doubt when you answer this question. There are two narrations, Thawban and another Auf ibn Malik. The Prophet ﷺ met Auf ibn Malik and said, كيف أصبحت? How are you this morning? He said, أصبحت مؤمنا حقا. Oh, today, this morning, I feel I'm a true believer. He said, وَمَا حَقِيقَةُ إِيمَانِكَ? Everything has some way to prove it. What is the authenticity of this claim that you are a true believer? He said, I have no interest in this life anymore. I understand it's all about temptations. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. I feel that I spend the night in prayer and I spend the day in fasting and I deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as I could see His throne. This is the level and the stage of al-ihsan, which is to worship Allah as though you're seeing Him. And if you cannot see Him, then He sees you. So I feel that I'm seeing His throne, His arsh. And I worship Him as I'm seeing the dwellers of paradise enjoying in it and talking to one another. And I worship Him with fear as I'm seeing the dwellers of fire, يَتَعَاوَوْنَ فِيهَا, they're being suffering in it from its torment. So when one reaches this level, he's a true believer. So the hadith, even though it is a da'if hadith, but I'm using this as a reference to say that the Prophet ﷺ asked one of the companions, كيف أصبحت? He said, أصبحت مؤمنا حقا. I am a true believer this morning. And the Nabi ﷺ did not object to this statement, rather he asked him about the proof and the authentication of this statement. What do you do? How do you feel in your heart to be a true believer? So if one asks you, are you a mu'min? It is similar to, are you a Muslim? Yes. Meaning, yes, I believe in Allah. I believe in His oneness. I believe in His unity of Lordship. I believe in His unity of names and attributes. That you should not have any doubt with this regard. Or if you have any doubt, then you're not a believer. With regards to Iman, it cannot be white and black, half and half, 50-50. It's got to be 100% belief in Allah, in His oneness, in His Lordship, in the unity of worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His angels, in whatever He stated in the Qur'an. You should not have the least doubt that every word and letter in the Qur'an was said by Him. You should believe that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His messenger. So it's not a subject of, if Allah wills, I will become a believer. If Allah wills, then I'm not a believer. It's understood that وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. But how do you feel right now, Jamil? Are you a mu'min? Then the answer should be, yes, I am a mu'min. This is not of admiring yourself, rather of stating a fact. Yes, I believe in Allah, in His angels, in His books, in His messengers whom He has sent to us, in the last day, and in Al-Qadr, it's good and it's bad.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, first up we have Brother Nuh from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Brother, you're live and ask Huda your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
Jazakallah khair for Huda channel and the Sheikh. I love the program too much. Jazakallah khair. Benefit too much. Sheikh, I'm quickly, I got a question. Yani, when I pray with Jama'ah, Fajr, Maghrib, Isha, when the Imam finish the Surah Fatiha, yani, he don't give time for me to recite my Fatiha. He connecting the prayer, recite the verse of Quran straight away. And in these circumstances, I read my Surah Fatiha. I have to recite myself, or just I listen the verse from the Imam.
Okay.
All right. Can I add another question?
Yes, of course. Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. Every night when I pray in the masjid, when I finish, I hear the hadith. The best prayer sunnah and the witr at home. Is that better? I ask my wife wait for me from masjid. We pray witr together at the Jama'ah. Is that more better for reward for me and my wife?
Yeah.
Barakallah fiqh. Brother there, Brother Nuh from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Okay, also from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Brother Imtiaz. Brother, you're live and ask Huda your question, please. Brother Imtiaz, are you with us? I think we've lost Brother Imtiaz there. Are you there? No, okay, we've lost Brother Imtiaz there. Okay, Jazakallah khair for trying, Brother Imtiaz. If you want to just call back straight away, I think the director will put you through straight away because we're losing quite a bit of time. Sheikh, Brother Khurshid from the United Arab Emirates asked a question which you wanted to answer. He's got a prostate problem. The doctors told him, he's a non-Muslim doctor, that he's got to drink 6 to 7 litres of water a day. As you know, we're coming up to Ramadan. What does he do? What's your advice, Sheikh?
Simply Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He stated in Surah Al-Baqarah that fasting has become mandatory on those who believe, as it was mandatory and prescribed on those who were before them, He said, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٌ. So basically, if one cannot afford fasting because of old age, senility, or because he or she is sick chronically, they're not expected to heal any soon. They have a chronic illness such as diabetes, which if they fast and if they do not take the medicine, and if they do not take food or water or sugar during the day, they might end up in a coma. Then they must break their fast and they must take the medicine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited us from killing ourselves or causing any harm to our own bodies and souls. لا تلقوا بأيديكم إلى التهلكة ولا تقتلوا أنفسكم إن الله كان بكم رحيما. Don't you kill yourselves. Indeed, Allah is merciful with you. Then He gave us an ease, and that will not decrease your reward. As long as in the past you used to fast regularly, and now there is an excuse, a valid reason, then you should skip fasting and feed 1 miskin per each day you skip fasting. Unless one day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you a cure and you're healed, in this case, you get to make up the same number of days which you skipped. So if the physician said this is a temporary illness, which hopefully in a year or 2, you will be able to fast again and you will be cured after a surgery or whatever, in this condition, you will be obliged to make up the fasting which you skipped. But if fasting will cause any harm to you, then you must skip fasting. And it's okay to take a second opinion of a Muslim doctor. But in this condition, if the physician is a non-Muslim and he's an honest physician and he's a good scientist, in this condition, it's also valid to take his opinion.
Okay, we have Brother Imtiaz from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Brother Imtiaz, are you with us?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Okay, we've got you back. Your question, please, brother.
Yeah, my question is that my company promised me some incentives. I achieved my goal, and then later on they refused to pay me money. So now I requested many times, and they totally rejected it and said that we can't pay you. So my question is, using my authority, can I get the money through indirect ways? Thank you very much. Jazakallah.
Barakallahu fiqh.
That's a tough question, brother.
Yes, it is indeed. Brother Imtiaz from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Brothers and sisters, please do try to call early. We've got so many calls waiting and time's running very short, but please do try to call in early. Sister Shaba from the United Arab Emirates had a question. She said, I'm unable to prostrate when I'm doing salah. She says, is it possible for me to make this sajda, this sujood, on a table, sitting on a chair?
As a matter of fact, one can pray in any position that will enable him to perform the prayer. In case that the person cannot stand up because he's physically ill or cannot stand up, then it is permissible to pray while sitting. A person like the sister, may Allah give her shifa, and also Brother Khurshid who called earlier concerning his illness and Ramadan, I ask Allah the Almighty to cure him and to give him a quick and a swift recovery, as well as all the Muslims who are sick and suffering. May Allah cure them all. So in case that the musalli, male or female, cannot make a complete ruku' or complete sujood, cannot prostrate themselves on the floor, on the ground, then they do as much as they can afford. And they don't have to put a table or a pillow or any object before them where they have to put their head, forehead and nose against them. No. As a matter of fact, it is not even prescribed to do that. So how would you do sujood then? On the air? Yes. And your ruku' will be by lowering your head, then the sujood by lowering the head a little further than the case of the ruku', and it doesn't have to be against any elevated object.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Okay, Sister Fatiha from Bulgaria called in, and she asked a question about Islamic banking, rather, taking a mortgage. She says, I can't find a mortgage in an Islamic bank. Actually, she couldn't find an Islamic bank in an area, in her country, I do believe. Can she take a conventional mortgage from a bank, thus knowing that she searched for an Islamic alternative first?
To answer this question, one has to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed whatever He prohibited in certain conditions. These conditions are known in Islam as ad-darura, necessity. That's why there is a fiqh rule which says ad-daruratu tubihul mahzurat. Necessities make what's prohibited permissible. But what is a necessity? We have to explain this. This is a very, very important thing. People judge their cases as necessity according to their whims and desires, which is false. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited drinking wine, prohibited eating pork, but He said, فَمَنِ اضْطُرَّ غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. So whosoever who has to, with two very strict conditions, غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ. These two conditions describe the necessity as that you're not doing this while transgressing the limit. And whenever you do it with a certain limit. Give you the example concerning consuming what Allah has prohibited. If one is dying out of hunger and there is no food but pork chop, it is permissible to eat from this pork, but with two conditions. That there is no other food whatsoever, and if you don't eat it, you will certainly die. Then when you eat from it, you don't eat until you're full. But you only eat until you can stand up and start searching for food somewhere else. Just to survive. One who doesn't have any source of income but to work for somebody who's selling beer or whatever, and if he doesn't work, cannot provide for the family, even cannot borrow, nobody give him any money, if he begs, no means of provision whatsoever, and he's living in a non-Muslim country, we say, it's okay to work just to pay the rent and until you find a job. Not to save up, not to buy a house, not to buy a car, no, work. Exert the maximum effort until you find the lawful alternative. So in this case, if you're living in a rental property, that is sufficient. You don't have to buy a house if there is no halal mortgage. If no one can lend you the money to buy a house, if you don't have enough cash, if the bank will not give you a lawful loan, according to Islam, without riba, then it is sufficient to stay in a rented property, in an apartment, in a studio, in one bedroom, because the halal is barakah. Whenever you seek what's lawful, there is a blessing in it. But seeking the haram, this big house which you'll move in, will be a pit of hellfire. And it will not be an expiation for the sin, even if you sell it. You've committed a sin. So it will require a sincere tawbah. Why to indulge in such sin from the beginning? So I explained, one, with the help of a sincere scholar, can tell if he or she is experiencing a great need, which is described in a shara as a necessity or not. It is not for any person to say, that's a necessity. Or otherwise, everybody would find an excuse in selling what Allah has prohibited, in earning from sources which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited, in buying a house with riba, in even committing adultery in the name of necessity. And all of that, you will be the person who will be held accountable and be answered before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about it, and Allah knows best.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh, for all your answers today. That's all the time we have for you on this episode of Ask Huda. Just a reminder, if you want to find out when the repeat of this program is, or any of our programs, please visit our website, www.huda.tv. Well, until next time, we leave you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If my love is attached to thee, then from sins I will be free. Each time my heart will beat, your name will resound with heat. Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the